And I wanted to talk to you about something today that I've heard from a lot of women that I work with recently, and that is changes that can happen in your cycle. And as a woman who's in her 40s or even early 50s, this is something that commonly we can experience. But just because it's common doesn't mean that it's normal. When changes happen in your body, you're going through a phase where hormones are starting to shift, and your cycle can become pretty irregular, but this isn't necessarily the way that things should be. And it can also be a warning sign for you from your body that there's something that needs your support. So I've definitely experienced this in the past as well. And it's something that I've heard a lot of recently, that periods can become very sporadic. So if you're someone who used to have your cycle pretty regularly every 28 days, every 26 days, every 30 days, whatever it is, we're supposed to be consistent. So whatever your number is doesn't necessarily matter, but it's important to know that you're having it at the same duration every month. And going through this phase of life, through this perimenopause journey, things can start to shift here. And this is a time where your ovaries essentially are getting ready to go into retirement, getting ready to pass over the role of producing hormones to your adrenals. And this is one of the biggest factors that can play a role when it comes to how smooth this transition goes, is how stressed out your adrenals are. For me, I started to have perimenopause symptoms when I was in my early 30s. I was told that I was in perimenopause by an endocrinologist when I was 32, which is considered relatively young. But when you're told that you have a certain condition, or you're given some sort of, I don't want to say diagnosis, but label like that, it's not the moment that you started dealing with those things. I'd been dealing with symptoms for several years before that. And part of what played a role in that was I was living a very stressful life. And when you're dealing with a lot of stress, your body will take the building blocks that it's supposed to use to make progesterone, which is really important for our cycle and for keeping balance with our hormones overall. It takes those building blocks and it makes stress hormones instead. So if you're dealing with a lot of stress in your life, this can be part of the reason why you're having a lot of symptoms going through perimenopause. And this is a time in our life where stress is not getting lower. For a lot of women, kids are getting older, parents are getting older as well. So there's a lot of stress from the family side of things. We've had a lot of stress in the world over the last kind of 3 years, actually 3 years plus now, which is crazy. There can be career stress. There can be stress in not feeling like yourself in your body, is something that I hear a lot of the times going into your 40s as well. Is people will say to me, like, I look in the mirror and I feel like I don't even know myself anymore. I don't know the person that I'm looking at. And that can be a symptom as well, that there's changes happening in your body with your hormones. And they're also messages to you that there's something going on that needs your support. So if you're dealing with low levels of estrogen in the system, this can lead to shorter periods or less heavy periods. But if you're dealing with estrogen dominance, which is where there's either too much estrogen or more commonly too low progesterone, because it's a balancing act between estrogen and progesterone. We're supposed to be at a certain ratio pretty consistently. And when that ratio starts to get thrown off, that's when we can have these symptoms. So we can have the changes in our period. So the really heavy periods, I've been there. Oh my goodness. It feels like someone pulled out the plug and you bleed constantly for 2 or 3 days. It's not a nice feeling at all. It can lead to low iron levels because you're losing so much blood. It can lead to feeling really tired. It can lead to irritability, mood changes. It can lead to just not being able to function throughout the day as well, which is the most frustrating thing. But ultimately, what's happening here a lot of the times when these periods get so heavy, this also happens when there's clots. Sorry, it's not a fun conversation to have, or it's not a nice topic, but it's something that you need to understand, because if you can have a better understanding of what's going on in your body, then you'll be able to make some better choices and some different decisions and give your body the support that it needs to have. But if you're having these really, really heavy periods or the clotty periods as well, this can be a sign that the body is trying to get rid of toxic estrogen. Because we actually have three different ways that estrogen can be metabolized. And if it's being metabolized in a way that's more toxic or harmful to the body's trying to get rid of stuff. Ultimately, your body is always trying to keep you safe and trying to protect you. And when there's something in the system that doesn't belong there or that isn't helpful for your health and moving forward, the body will try and get rid of it. So I have many examples of this. The toxic estrogen through heavy periods and flooding periods is a really good example here. When anytime there's a toxin or there's something in the body that doesn't belong there, the ultimate way that we're supposed to get rid of it is we're supposed to poop it out. I know I talked about poop. I'm talking about poop and periods. Welcome to my world. That's pretty much what I talk about with women and with clients in general all day long because they're such important factors in our overall quality of health and quality of life too. And so if you're not pooping consistently, or there's something off with your digestion, or you're bloated after meals and things aren't processing properly, the body has to push stuff out. And so really heavy periods or really clotty periods is one way that the body can rid yourself of this toxic estrogen. Another way, when there's chemicals or there's toxins or metals or things that don't belong in the body that people often deal with, and this is common through perimenopause as well, is that if you're not pooping it out and the body's looking for ways to push it out, this is when we can deal with acne because the body needs another pathway. So it'll push it out through your skin. So if you find that you're dealing with a lot of acne around your cycle, around your period, or cystic acne is a really common one that we see. Hormonal acne is typically going to be along the jawline. That's an indication that there's a hormonal component to it as well, but cystic acne can be a hormonal component too. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is because we're not given enough understanding of our bodies as women. A lot of the times you go to your doctor and, they'll test you. In my experience, a lot of the times the results will come back and they'll say, "Oh, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you." But if you're dealing with these symptoms, in my opinion, there's still something more that needs to be investigated. There's something more that needs to be done for you. And so this is where, the way that I work and a lot of holistic practitioners as well, is that we want to find out the cause. Why are you dealing with the symptoms that you're dealing with? Because the medical route will look at things and say, what's a medication we can throw towards this to make your symptoms go away? But doesn't make the problem go away. Makes you feel better for a little bit, but every medication has a side effect is the first concern there. And ultimately, it's not resolving the problem. It's just giving you kind of a band-aid to feel good in the meantime. But this isn't the path to optimal health, in my opinion. So if you're looking for support for your body, this is a really good time to start if you're in your early 40s, even like I was, in early 30s, and you're starting to experience some of these symptoms. Because ultimately, as I said, these are a message from the body that something is not functioning properly. And the longer that you ignore these messages, it can start as a whisper. It can start as, my periods were a little bit heavier or a little bit crampier this month, or there's a little bit of acne on my face. And if you're not paying attention and you're not listening to the body, the volume turns up. It starts to scream. There starts to be more symptoms. And so ultimately, we want to do our best to prevent this stuff, to give our body the support that it needs to. Because when we're supporting hormones, when we're supporting adrenal health, all of these things are really key factors to making sure that menopause is the most seamless transition for you possible. Menopause doesn't have to suck. We're convinced or we're told from society and from hearing other people's stories of how awful it was to go through menopause, but it doesn't have to suck. Menopause just ultimately means menses pause. So your period stops. It doesn't have to involve the night sweats or the hot flashes or the low libido or the vaginal dryness, which I know, sensitive topic. I will talk about that more tomorrow, actually. It doesn't have to involve all of these horrible experiences for you, but we need to make sure that your body is getting the support that it needs to be able to do that properly. So this is just a quick one for you today. Hopefully you found some value from this. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. There's no better time to start paying attention to your body and understanding what's going on and giving it the support that it needs, because ultimately that's going to set you up for the best case moving forward. Even if you're already in menopause, there are things we can do to help your system, to improve your health, and to keep you healthier longer in life as well. So, if you found value in this, if you have any questions, reach out to me for sure. And if you know anyone who could use this message or who's struggling with menopause symptoms, perimenopause symptoms, they suck. I get it, but they don't have to. And there is support available for you. I know a lot of us have gone through a similar situation that I went through as well, where you go to your doctor and it's like, that's just a normal part of aging. I call BS on that because it's not. It doesn't have to be. So if you know anyone who could benefit from this, please tag them or share this message with them. And if you would like support, send me a message. We can set up a time to have a conversation. There's absolutely like no pressure, just to figure out if we're a good fit to work together and how I can help you. So enjoy the rest of your day. This is Kate McDowell again from Aligned Natural Health and helping you live well